So a few days ago I was scrolling around on Facebook and I came across this video from this page called Vooroordeel Bureau. They were in Leeuwarden and it was a video of these two guys walking down the street in Leeuwarden interviewing people, and they came across these two young ladies, right? And they asked the question, what is your initial impression or opinion on Antillians? Now you and I both know as soon as I heard that question I was like, ay, Mampami, let's hear it, tell me. And the first girl went on to say things like, ze doen vieze dingen. And then they asked, what kind of vieze dingen do they do? And she started to say some bullshit about drugs and rape, and yeah, they're not very good people. Thankfully, the other girl had some noticeable intelligence to say they're not all that bad. So they asked, do you know any Antillians? And they both stated that neither of them actually know any Antillians at all. So yes, just like everywhere else, Holland has a racism problem. Now you guys buckle in, cause Dr. Dre, I got something to say. What's good, guys? We hope you're having a wonderful day. And yes, just like everywhere else in the world, Holland has a racism problem. And it's a particularly tricky and nasty situation these days, especially considering all the stuff that's been going on. I mean, you have with the ISIS problem, you have the refugee crisis, you got police brutality, and racism, bigotry, stereotyping, and hatred will always be tricky and nasty. But it's still something that should be discussed in the hope that enough people come to intelligent and educated opinions and agreements that will hopefully lead to intelligent, ethical, kind-hearted solutions. But this problem here is very real, and it's something that I've experienced personally myself. But okay, just like everywhere else in the world, Holland has a racism problem. And this is sad in the truest form of the word, because no matter where you go out in the world, you're always going to find a group of people who are just emotionally invested in not getting along with other groups and hating others. But I'm talking about now, and I'm talking about Holland. But I can only speak for me and mine, and I can only talk about the things that I've experienced personally and the things that I've dealt with. And I, just like some of you, am an Antillian living in Holland. But going back to the video, I want you guys to know that the girl who said this crap is part of a very small group of people here in Holland. People who are just uninformed, uneducated, and unaware. And they're usually a result of closed-minded and poor parenting and a disconnect with other cultures and with the rest of the world. And sometimes even just a small, minute negative experience with a certain culture from which they can't educate themselves out of. But we gotta remember, in the grand scheme of things, this is just a small group. In my experience, it's just good people versus piece of shit human beings. And these small groups of piece of shit humans can be found everywhere. Here in Holland, overseas, in the States, back on our islands, there's always a group of people who just seem to be built on hate. And the funny thing is, most Dutch people disagree with these people too. Because for the most part, Holland is a very open-minded, accepting, and progressive place. And most people are very accepting of every type of person, no matter what color, shape, or size. But sometimes people like us are just unfortunate enough to find ourselves at the receiving end of such ignorance. Like I said, racism here in Holland is something that I dealt with a few times myself personally. But let me tell you guys a story. One night I was walking home from the gym. This was the scene of the situation. It was a cold and rainy night, and I had my jacket and I had my hoodie up, and then I noticed a police van driving by me. And you could see that they were really paying attention to me. But I was on the phone with Tyson and I didn't care too much, I just kept walking. But I'm guessing they made a U-turn because they started driving back towards me. And then this shit happened. They drove over a little path meant for bikes onto the bicycle path just so they can come up all the way to me on the sidewalk. So they step out of their van and immediately they had their hands on their holsters and a very stern look on their faces. But they walked up to me and only one officer said good evening and they asked for my identification. Now, I have no problem with it. I know I didn't do anything wrong. I don't want to make the situation any more tricky than it is. So I gave him my ID and I said, sure, fine, here you go. But may I ask, what's the problem? What did I do? Now I made sure I had a smile on my face and I was polite so I didn't make them any more on edge than they clearly were already. But when I asked my question and they took my ID, all they said was, even wachten, meneer. Even wachten? Why? Just answer my question. But fine, hey, you're the guy with the gun. And I think it was the point where I saw my country of birth on my ID that they got a little bit more nervous. Now I get it. I'm a big guy. I'm 190, 100 kilos. I got this hole in my ear. People tell me I don't have the most innocent of faces. But this shit has never happened to me before. But as soon as I saw my country of birth, there came the questions. What are you doing here? Where are you coming from? Oh yeah? What's the gym called? Or where do you live? Oh yeah? What's the address? Oh, you study? Where? And what year are you? What do you study? Oh, okay. How long have you been in Holland? Have you been studying all those years? So after they asked their buttload of unnecessary questions, I figured it was my turn. So I asked, what's the problem here? And they said the reason they stopped me is because on the other side of the street, there are prostitutes. And sometimes there are issues there. Now on the inside, I wanted to say, "Bopalage the guy." But what I said was, understandable. But what does it have to do with me? Now I wasn't the only one walking there that night, but I was definitely the only non-white one. And of course they chose me. I was just casually walking on the sidewalk. All the way on the other side of the street is where the prostitution issue resides. Between me and there was a bike path, a long patch of grass, 4 lanes of road, another patch of grass, a long wall of shrubs and trees, another big patch of grass, 2 more roads, and then the sidewalk where the prostitutes are. That's a whole lot of distance between me and them. And then I said, you guys are aware that that's why I'm walking on this side of the road, with about 10 obstacles in between me and that part of the road. But still they felt they had to drive up onto the feed spot with their big ass van, step out with their hands on their holsters, and come interrogate me about it. And there are a bunch of stories like this. One time I was standing in the line at a club, and then this police officer walked by. And a bunch of people were saying shit. They were like, "Oh nee, de popo jongen. Jeetje mine, politie." And all I said, and not even that loudly, was, "Uh-oh." I think this guy had high minority frequency hearing or something, because he decided to only pay attention to my uh-oh and come up to me and come up right up to my face just to say, "You got something to say? Is there a problem here? Are you serious?" Me and everyone else. "Maybe it's just better you shut your mouth." Okay, my bad. Have a nice night. And there are a bunch of examples of people experiencing the same kind of crap. But again, folks, it's a small group of people who are causing these issues. Because my lovely Dutch people, I know that we cannot generalize in these situations. Because for the most part, you guys are fucking lovely. I really enjoy my life here. And I know that people like this who do the things they do and say the things they say are just part of a very small, uninformed, unaware, and uneducated group that does not represent the general consensus. A small group of people who have never had the chance or opportunity to meet the awesome, lovely, beautiful people from the islands and embrace the island love. The kind of people that I have had the honor of growing up with and meeting. People who I admire and applaud. Some of you who are watching this video right now, you know exactly who you are. But back to the point, people. This is about good people and bad people. Just like everywhere else, every country, every community has good people and bad people. Just like I have met amazing, wonderful Italians, I have met amazing, wonderful Dutch people. I fell in love with a beautiful, amazing Dutch queen who I could absolutely not live without. And her whole family always does their best to make sure I feel included, accepted, loved as part of the family. Even her old school tiny little grandma treats me like her own grandson. And I could not be more grateful for them giving me a sense of family when I'm so far away from where I grew up. And again, I repeat, there are so many people like this. People who are open-minded, progressive, generous, accepting, kind-hearted. Do you guys know Jelle Piers? Jelle, Thijsik, Fleur, and I all went to hogeschool together and we graduated together. And him and his family are perfect representations of what I mean with amazing, lovely Dutch people who have become an important part of my life. This guy went with me and Thijsik and Fleur to Curaçao for our internship, and I've never seen someone embrace a culture and the people so much before in my life. I guess what it comes down to is that unfortunately we have to learn to live with the fact that there's a small group of people who are just systematically built on not getting along with anyone else. But also that there are amazing, good, kind-hearted people to be found everywhere you go. And the key here is as simple as just treating everyone else with the respect and dignity that you know you deserve to be treated. And that's what I had to say. And again, thanks for watching.